What is going on, guys? Today we have a guide for the newest event quest in Marvel Contest of Champions. Now, I know some of you have decided to skip this quest, and that's completely understandable to me. But for those of you that want to actually finish the EQ this month because it doesn't look like it's going to get changed at all or nerfed in any way this month, then this will be the guide for you. First off, in this guide, I want to go over the normal difficulty, maybe some tips and tricks that I have with that. Afterwards, we'll cover the boss, and then right at the end of the video, I want to go over some tips and tricks that will really help give you an easier time tackling that Elder difficulty if you're crazy like me and you decide that you want to do it. Just a quick reminder, if you do plan on doing the Elder difficulty of the event quest for this month, you only need to do one path in each quest, because once you finish the Elder difficulty, it will auto-complete everything else for you and it will fully explore the normal difficulty. And then another quick reminder, the Elder difficulty is not unlocked off the bat. Unfortunately, you do have to complete normal difficulty first, so just keep that in mind. If you can't access Elder difficulty, it's because you have to run through and do the normal difficulty at least that single time. Okay, first off, we have the Mutant quest. Now, this one can be a little bit tricky if you don't really know maybe some good champions to bring or maybe some matchups to take, but that's why you came to this video, right? So the first one is themed around mutants, like I said, and you're going to be having to deal with the biohazard node, which means you're going to be receiving a bleed debuff every time you attack your opponent. However, if you attack into their block, you will be inflicted with a poison debuff. So we need to keep that in mind. That poison is going to do a lot of damage if we get hit by it. Now, on the bright side, for the bleed part of this node, your mutant champions are going to have somewhat of a resistance to it. Unfortunately, in the Elder difficulty, that resistance doesn't amount to too much. You can still handle a few bleeds, but if you lay into the champion too much and get too many bleeds on you, the attack values are so high on the opponents that sometimes it will still melt your health anyways, so do keep that in mind. However, I didn't find that, at least with the champions that I was bringing, it was turning into too big of a problem, and I'll give you some advice as far as champion selection further on in this video. But anyway, not only do we resist bleed, but every time we are going to be launching a special attack as a mutant attacker, we're going to be purifying bleeds that are on us, and we're going to be turning those into furies. So if we really want to run through this quest, we want to have champions that spam specials, or they're immune or resistant to bleed debuffs. Because even if we're immune to a bleed, we are still going to get that same fury. It's pretty simple in principle, although, like I said, if you don't have the correct champions, it can be really vicious and difficult, so don't blame yourself if you end up taking a couple deaths on this quest. It can be a little bit tricky. First off, we want to make sure, like I said, we have that willpower mastery. If you can afford a point or two in coagulate, if you want to redo masteries, that's going to help you a lot. I know a lot of people wouldn't want to do that for one quest, and to be honest, I wouldn't blame you. So as long as you have willpower, you should be okay, assuming you bring in pretty good champs, but just keep that in mind. Willpower, super duper important. If you find yourself in the normal difficulty, the teams that I recommend you bringing all compose champions that are either bleed immune, resistant, or they have double immunities. First off, we have Iceman, and on the bright side, everybody got a free version of Iceman from a code in the web store. Hopefully it still works. I'm not sure when it's going to expire, but if it's not working for you, I'm sorry, it's probably gone and you missed out, but he's still a good option. The next champion that I highly recommend is also dual immune. Now, what I mean when I say dual immune is they're immune to poison and bleed, so you can largely ignore all of the nodes, and that champion is Dust. Dust, very good champion. You can be spamming a lot of special attacks. You're going to be immune to everything biohazard related. And in my experience, Dust will just absolutely cruise through this quest. A couple of other really good recommendations is Colossus, Gentle, Apocalypse. Domino can be really fun. Every time she can purify a bleed, she can gain power. So you can be launching a lot of specials with her. And we all know Domino can hit pretty hard if you get lucky. Now, those are probably some of my favorite counters. If you really need somebody else to work, these champions can also get you by in a pinch, and that is Gambit, because he actually does have some bleed resist when he has his flak jacket ability active. If he's duped, it's going to help a little bit more, but in my experience, I don't think it's quite necessary. Magneto as another option. I kind of had this idea, if you pair Cable with Apocalypse, it might work as well, because Apocalypse will remove the degeneration limit on Cable, and then Cable, if he's a horseman, will take reduced bleed damage. I don't know, just maybe try it. I don't know if it would be the best, but it could be really fun. And then you can also bring Jean Grey. Her telepathic shield and her special shield that she has can take some of that bleed damage away, and you will actually be healing from bleeds, at least until that shield is gone, so keep that in mind. But usually if you have her ranked up at a decent 7-star rarity, which I know not a lot of people have right now, she can rinse the fight really quickly. She is also really good at spamming those special attacks to purify bleeds. So it can work in a pinch if you have her and nobody else. Now, as far as which path I believe is the easiest, I think that's going to easily be the path on the right. However, if you have some of these champions that I mentioned, I do think the middle and the left path will be just as easy. If you have Onslaught, Apocalypse, or Jean, these champions will be able to counter some of the champions in those other lanes that can shrug your parry, or they can just be tricky if you can't parry in the first place. These champions will make it really easy. Onslaught and Jean, with their Neuroshocks, they're going to be able to get by Spidey Supreme's invisible mode. So for those of you that don't know, Neuroshock, that will prevent miss. And then yeah, the most annoying fight, other than those guys that shrug debuffs, is probably Joe Fixit. And I don't think in normal difficulty you should be having too hard of a time with him. Although Elder, that can definitely change. Now, as far as the boss goes, I believe Gwenpool is probably one of the easiest in the entire event quest for this month. And that's because it's largely just a normal Gwenpool fight. You can get in the rhythm of just baiting the special one, punish, baiting the special one, and punish, and rinse and repeat. However, there are going to be a little bit of caveats to think about as you're going through this fight. First off, she will have protection that will cap her damage unless you knock her down, and then it will go on cooldown. Now, you don't have to knock her down with a heavy attack if that's really tricky for you. Instead, you can use special attacks to disable this same protection, so keep that in mind, guys. And then another thing is, if we're not making contact with her every 6 seconds, at least one time, she will root us in place, so that's something really important to keep in mind. Generally, she's pretty special one happy. If not, you can swipe in, attack into her block, and dash back. It's not too big of a deal. And then just a couple more things. Every 10 multiple in your combo meter, and you do have a combo shield on by default from a node, she will be going unblockable for a few seconds. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that combo meter. But like I said, Gwenpool, you really can get in the rhythm of baiting a special one and then punishing her, extending your combo with a relic so she gets enough power for another special one, and then you kind of just rinse and repeat. There is one more node, and that's if you get hit by the final attack in any of her specials. You have 7 seconds to knock her down with a heavy, or you will die. But like I said, her specials are super duper easy to dex. You just need to dex twice, and that's pretty much it. If you can get in that special one loop that I'm talking about, where she is just letting you punish her special attacks over and over again, then really any champion is going to work for this fight. But there are a couple champions that I think would make this fight a little bit easier, especially if you're somebody who is maybe your average player or slightly below average. And those champions are Juggernaut, because he makes intercepting easy. You wouldn't need to parry her to knock her down, anything like that. And then Silk, because she can combo into a heavy attack, and she even on top of that has that safeguard of being able to auto evade a special attack every 20 seconds, I think, for you, which can really come in handy in and of itself. And then the final one that I would maybe recommend is Kushala, and that's because if you just start off with a parry, then you're going to be able to block unblockable attacks, and you can pretty much ignore everything in this fight. And of course, these are just a few options. There's some that I just kind of brainstormed, and admittedly, I didn't test all of them, but I'm pretty sure most of those should work for you. Of course, these are just some options that I was able to come up with and just kind of think about and break down. If you have any other really good options for this Gwenpool fight, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section down below. Now on to Elder difficulty, and oh boy, the Elder difficulty, let me tell you, is rough. I am not even in the top, anywhere even close to the top prestige for EQ difficulty, and you still get almost a million health pool. So this is not for the faint of heart. Definitely before you tackle this, make sure you have a roster that is at least decently strong, and you're going to be needing like 16 to 17 fairly beefed up mutants. You can get by with 7-star rank 1s if you need to, but in my experience, dipping below that into your 6-star rank 4s can be a little bit hit and miss. So keep that in mind, you guys. The first thing that makes this Elder difficulty so difficult is that Biohazard is going to be hitting for a lot. And I kind of mentioned that earlier in the video, but if you hit into block at least one time and you get a poison on you, you might just be cooked. It's going to be doing a lot of damage to you unless you're resistant or immune in some way. So you're definitely going to have to be playing well. So keep that in mind. Try not to rage. I know it can be really annoying. We just got to keep on keeping on. I promise, once you get the hang of this quest, it's really not that bad. There's not a lot of tricky defenders in my opinion. Really all it is bringing the correct counters to certain fights. Now, speaking to counters to certain fights, I literally can't say this enough. If you just bring bleed resistant, bleed immune champions, your life will be a million times better, okay? However, I do recommend that you think about where you use these champions. These champions, at least the bleed resistant ones, can be free sources of healing if you plan it out correctly. For me, I brought Onslaught in 6-star version and 7-star version at very tactical points in my run so that I could heal from the bleeds and then I wouldn't have to use a healing potion. And I recommend you bring those champions in against people you're really confident fighting on defense. Then you're not going to be wasting a revive. You can go into the next fight at full health, and that's really going to make your life a whole lot easier. Now, I think Onslaught is probably the best for this. I think you can also use Mr. Sinister, which I did use at one point, and I actually recommend you use him for Joe Fixit because that fight can take a long time and you can take a lot of block damage from that special one. Although Mr. Sinister, you know, he's just super tanky. He can't take any damage from bleeds. You're just going to have a good time and you're going to finish with a full yellow bar. One thing to keep in mind, for some reason, his ability to convert his bleeds to degens, there must be some weird interaction with that. I don't know what it is, but for some reason it just doesn't work. But you can still finish the fight. It will take a lot longer though. One other bleed resistant champion I did forget to mention is Magneto. So keep that in mind, guys. He's going to be another one of those champions that he can really heal back up if you bring him in. And then on the bright side, there's at least 2 paths that finish with champions where we can farm willpower heals. And that is going to be from Sandman, which is right before the final boss, and then also from Sorcerer Supreme, which is the lane right before that. So keep that in mind. Those will be free heals. So maybe try to space out those bleed resistant champions a few fights before them, just so you can get maximum value out of healing up to full every single time. Another specific matchup I wanted to touch on is Spiral. Spiral could be kind of annoying with her dancing blades. She can stun you if you hit her with, I think it's a second light attack, but if you bring in Colossus, I found he is a very good counter for that fight. He can just parry heavy his way to victory, and you can largely ignore the dancing blades. And if you need to, you can block everything because his armor ups make him so chunky. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for all the tips and tricks that I have for this very first event quest. If there is something that I forgot and you really think it made the absolute difference in your run, please do comment it down below. Again, I know not everybody is doing this content. I just wanted to make a video for people that really want to take it on, give people some advice, tell you some things that saved me resources and kept me from going crazy. Because honestly, I think if you plan this quest out well and if you have the right champions, unfortunately that's just RNG, I don't think it can be as bad as people online are having you think. So anyway, if you liked the video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If not, then you suck. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.